Well. Funny seeing you here, eh? Sorry, it's been a little bit since I last posted a video. It's been a bit of a ride over here, but welcome back to Demi's Bot Shots, and why not bring it back with a big one, eh? So, as the entire community knows, Rise of the Beast coming out very soon, super exciting, so I figured, why not, since they've been a bit of a trend over here, we have a little Rise of the Beast Bonanza, eh? Alright, so we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different bots from Studio Series, the Rise of the Beast mainline, just a whole bunch of bots I've collected specifically for this movie. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This is going to be sort of a rapid-fire thing. I'm just going to give quick thoughts, quick ideas, my basic impressions of each bot, since we've got so many to go through. So, let's get started. We're going to start with the 3-pack of Target-exclusive deluxes from the Rise of the Beast mainline, the Jungle Mission 3-pack. And we're going to start with my basically least favorite of the three, being Deluxe Class Rise of the Beast Cheetor. So, this figure is absolutely based on probably concept art of Cheetor's look for the movie. Looks nothing like what we've seen from the trailers, but it's still an interesting sort of updated look on the classic Cheetor design. He's got the little head torso, he's got the classic looking head sculpt, the arms on the back, but overall this really is just kind of a sideline Cheetor. It's not the movie version, it's just a Cheetor for the line. However, there are some good things to like about this Cheetor. I mean, for one, it's a lot closer to the original Beast Wars design than the movie version ended up being, which that could be a positive for some people. Personally, I don't have as big a connection to Beast Wars, so that's not really a positive or negative for me. It's just what it is. He does have some amazing weaponry pieces. He's got his little gut blaster, as well as this tail sword whip thing, which I really do like. And I kind of wish that the tip of the tail had something more interesting to do, but it is cool that they allow that to fold down to give just a nice little stabby bit. And the transformation is remarkably simple for a deluxe class of the modern era, but that's not a bad thing. Sometimes a simple transformation is exactly what you want out of a bot. You want something that just real quick, you pick up, you fiddle with, it's already the other mode, instead of a complicated 100-step transformation. Sometimes all you want is just a simple little bot. And Cheetor here is absolutely a simple little bot. Definitely not against having picked him up, but if he was by himself, I probably wouldn't have. Absolutely the kind of bot that's a space filler. And we'll see who he was filling space for in a little bit. We're going to go by size class for this, I think. And Cheetor's beast mode is honestly respectable for the size class and what feels like sort of a first draft. It does have some glaring issues that a lot of poor designed beast modes, not to say it's poorly designed, but less designed beast modes tend to have. We have a very clear case of terrible kibble. Arms are just right under there on the underside. But there are some things to be positive about. Like, for example, his gut blaster actually fits into his gut under the arms, so we have weapon storage, which is honestly better incorporated weapon storage than even some of the later guys on this list. Gotta say, that is a plus. I do enjoy that. As well as, of course, the tail sword becoming the tail, as expected. And honestly, for a cheetah mode, it's not too bad. Personally, I don't really have much use for it in my collection, since I have Kingdom Cheetor and the Studio Series Cheetor, which we'll get to in a second. But it's a nice little Cheetor, and it's definitely fun to have as a little fidget. Though, the other two of the Jungle Mission 3-pack, the other two are definitely my favorites there. So, let's go ahead and keep on the heroic side for a second with Deluxe Rise of the Beast Wheeljack. Old Pablo here is definitely a lot closer to screen accurate compared to a Cheetor over there, but still got a little bit of a ways to go. It's definitely not Studio Series level, but it's a decent stand-in until we get a Studio Series Wheeljack. And as much as Wheeljack's design has been a bit of a hot topic in the community, I personally really enjoy this sort of Pablo look. I get that it's a little weird how Bumblebee Wheeljack turned into this, but I'm not going to complain. I really do like this sort of bulky, stockier character. Though part of me honestly wishes he was named Pablo. Anyways, I love how solid this Rise of the Beast Wheeljack figure is. Like, as I was first transforming him and getting him out of the box, I was really worried that he was going to be super loose based on how he works. But after fiddling with him for a bit, he's actually surprisingly solid and a decent bot. Transformation is honestly a little bit evocative of the Revenge of the Fallen twin ice cream truck bots, if you remember those two. They were Revenge of the Fallen Deluxe that was both skids and mudflap, and they turned into two halves of an ice cream truck. Honestly, I'm getting vibes similar to that transformation for this guy, which I am not a big fan of the twins for Revenge of the Fallen, but that bot, that figure, was absolutely phenomenal. The one good thing that the twins gave us in their entire stint in the live-action films. Which, speaking of which, thank goodness that those two are gone. Could you imagine if they had tried to, like, bring them back for something? Ugh. I was genuinely worried, honestly. But, as we move along in the live-action series and move away from the Bay movies, because they're not calling it a reboot, but it's a reboot. As we move away from them, I am more than happy to start seeing some of the newer ideas take shape, including some of the weirder ideas, like this version of Wheeljack being a bit different. I'm excited to see how he turns out in the movie, which I am actually filming all of this the day before the movie releases in the US, so the premieres have happened, reviews are out, I'm trying to stay as blind as I can, but I've seen a lot of the trailers. Anyways, we get Wheeljack's vehicle mode here, and it is absolutely amazing. My only complaint with this vehicle mode, it's not the size, it's not the stability, it's not its rolling ability, even though that's a little if. My only issue with it is that it's so small. Like, it is smaller than a Studio Series Deluxe. I don't have... Oh, I do! I have Earthrise Sunstreaker here, and Rise of the Beast Wheeljack is smaller. Like, it's a little taller, but it's still smaller than an Earthrise Deluxe. Like, my only issue with him is that he's so small. If we could get, like, a Voyager Wheeljack or something in the Studio Series line later down the line, that would be amazing. But for now, at least in robot mode, he looks amazing with the others. I just hope we get a bigger one for that vehicle mode, please. Anyways, let's go ahead and round up the Jungle Mission 3-pack with our first Terrorcon of the video, Nightbird. So, mainline Deluxe Nightbird here is honestly a bit of a freaky piece of engineering, in my opinion. I love... It was the only figure, as we were taking it out of the box, that I was just completely perplexed by. Of all of these bots, most of them made sense right out of the box. I think I only had to look at instructions for a couple, and oddly enough, it was the other two Terrorcons. But for this lass, I was entirely perplexed because she is very sort of long and lanky in robot mode, and it all condenses down beautifully into her car mode. Which also, as I get into transforming her to talk about the vehicle mode, can we just appreciate for the second the fact that we got a trans voice actress for Nightbird? That is so amazing. I love to see it. That we're getting some representation in the voice acting. And that's totally not just me adding that to my wishful thinking of maybe this trans lady could one day voice a Transformer. I would love to see it, but I'm just happy that we've got some representation coming on for the trans community in Transformers. And Nightbird's vehicle mode. Absolutely stunning. As I said, everything condenses so beautifully into this sleek car that, again, it's a little small. Let's bring Sunstreaker back here. It's small. The mainline deluxes seem to be going a little bit small compared to mainline Earthrise or Legacy now or Studio Series, but still a decent little bang for your buck. And honestly, I love the engineering here and how condensed everything's become. It's so solid, it rolls decent. The sword and claw weapons actually like separate and become this little back spoiler, which is so fun. I love when the weapon storage gets so neat like that. Like, it's not accurate to a vehicle, but it's such a cute little play feature, and I love to see it. And Nightbird is absolutely another character that I want to see Studio Series do some more justice with when they get to it. But this is a nice little vehicle, and it's absolutely standing in on my shelf until we get a Studio Series one. Well, that's enough from a visit for the main line for now. Let's go ahead and step aside from the main line. We'll come back in a second. But let's go ahead and talk about some Studio Series figures. And I think we'll be starting with Studio Series Deluxe 97 Air Razor, since this is the one I have the least to say on. So, Air Razor here, I'm going to briefly touch on because I don't have a lot to say about it. It is a heavy retool of the Kingdom Air Razor mold, and so basically everything from Kingdom Air Razor is true for this one. The only thing that's changed, really, is that with the new sculpt, the head for the Beast Mode actually blocks the waist from being able to move, unfortunately. So it is a little bit worse on the posability side, but other than that, basically everything is the same from Kingdom. And if you want my opinions on that mold, I believe that was in Beast Bonanza 2. I don't remember specifically, but it was in one of the Beast Bonanzas. So go back and check that out if you really care about that opinion. The only other thing I'd like to say is that specifically with Studio Series 97, be careful with the waist. This is actually my second copy of Studio Series 97 because the first one I got, the waist snapped, basically right out of the box. Luckily I got it replaced, but it was unfortunate and I was very sad about it. But we've got a new Air Razor. Transformation is exactly the Kingdom one. The Falcon mode is interesting. I kind of need to see it in motion before I get too much of an opinion on it. What we've seen in the trailers is cool. I just hope that she still has a robot mode in the movie. And whatever the case, interesting character. I don't have a lot to say about Air Razor, so we'll see how it goes. But we do have one other deluxe class to talk about before we take the next leap up. And we have Studio Series 100, the big triple digits, Bumblebee. Rise of the Beast Bumblebee. It is Bumblebee, but with the Camaro alt mode. I will say I love how stocky and solid this guy is, especially compared to my other Studio Series Bumblebee, which is, I have B127 and I have the, I believe it's Studio Series number 3 that came in the 15th anniversary multi-pack. Both of those are decent. B127 is definitely a nice pick, but compared to Studio Series 3, this is my favorite Earth Mode Bumblebee that I have. I love the engineering that goes into the legs and how they transform, as well as just how he carries his kibble. They managed to keep it nice and clean on the back for the most part, even if it's not movie accurate. They're not going to make movie accurate Bayformers or Transformers to this degree. But everything about him's pretty cool. My only complaint is that there's not enough paint on this guy. His blade is just a single piece of yellow plastic that they didn't bother to paint. And his gun, it's molded in such a way that if you want it on his left arm, you have to put it underhand. And if you put it on the right arm, it's a little tight. But whatever the case, you can probably have a little upward pose on that and it'll still look fine. And the transformation for this guy is honestly a stupendous work of engineering here. I love the way that the, what do we call these? Titty headlights? I love the way that his headlight chest kind of tilts open to allow for the hood to come back over top. My only complaint with the transformation is that you kind of have to really get in there and force the chest to come untabbed. It's gotten better as I've been playing with it, but it is definitely tight. which is good for stability, but it is a little obnoxious when it comes to just hand feel. It is not the best for hand feel. Same with, like, a lot of this figure. It feels like it's engineered to be super tight, which is good in the long run, but it can be a little bit awkward or uncomfortable for hand feel, which I like a figure that I can sort of pick up and fidget with, and so this one doesn't quite get that for me, but it's still an impressive figure. Also, weapon storage for the vehicle mode, I haven't really been able to figure out. I'm probably going to go back and look at the instructions at some point, but the best I've figured out is to kind of let the gun rest in a little cavity here, and then tab in the blade in such a way that it holds the gun into that cavity. It's a little wiggly and a little bit noisy, but it holds it in there, and it still allows it to roll just perfectly fine. I love this sort of beefier Camaro look compared to the junker that we saw in the 07 movie. I love the extra framing and the guards, and I'm just really excited to see this Bumblebee up on the big screen, just like everybody else here. So, let's keep going with Studio Series for a little bit, and let's talk the Voyagers of Studio Series, at least for the first wave. I haven't been able to get my hands on any of the other stuff yet. So, let's go ahead and talk Studio Series 98, Voyager Cheetor. So Cheetor here is definitely a bit of a departure from the Cheetor that we saw in Beast Wars, or Beast Machines, or Cyberverse, or basically any previous Cheetor. But I definitely like that they're taking Cheetor in a new direction. If you're going to have Bumblebee in the movie, Cheetor was kind of the same character for Beast Wars, the Kid Appeal character, the yellow one. And so, in my opinion, the sort of orange that they've gone here for the Studio Series figure, it probably is referencing a very particular shot where it looks a little bit darker, but I like it, especially to differentiate from the yellow Kid Appeal kind of Cheetor. Like, is it entirely accurate? No, not really, but who needs accuracy? Oh, right, that's why Studio Series exists. I actually really enjoy when they take a bit of a departure. Just because I saw the movie, and it's cool to have the movie figure on my desk, but it's also cool to see, like, where it differs a little bit. And in terms of, like, how this is going on a shelf, it's definitely going to be the Cheetor for my shelf. I really enjoy this Cheetor. The transformation is really intuitive and fun, especially with the chest and how it works, with both sides opening and the two heads doing a little switcheroo. Excuse me. My only complaint that I have for the Beast Mode is that it's a little bit of a brick. The arms and legs have some movement, but not a lot to express itself. And the storage for the weapon is kind of, in my opinion, the lamest way to store weapons on a Beast Mode, which is tabs on the back. I love the ingenious design of his little tandem spear and how it splits into two and you can put it into his hand. Though, be careful with that if you decide to get this guy. It is only designed to go one way, and if you try to force it the wrong way, you will break it. I almost did on mine. But the way that it looks in Beast Mode of just tabbing the both ends on the back, it feels lazy. And there's a lot of stuff there where it feels like shortcuts were taken, which I can understand to an extent, but it does make it a little sad when different parts of the figure seem to be a lot better than others. Like, the head sculpt on Cheetor is amazing to look at. And then you get to the front paws of the Cheetor where it's robot paws with just a little tabbed on cheetah paw. It's a little sad to see, but I can live with it. Because, honestly, if I'm going to be putting this guy in cheetah mode, I'm probably going to have Bumblebee in front of him to replicate that scene from the trailer. And, also, the scaling matches with that scene from the trailer. Having the big cheetah that's bigger than the car. I am so happy that the Maximals are that sort of enlarged size. Just for the sake of the Studio Series, honestly. I would have liked to see small Maximals that were the size of the animals they turned into. But I also feel as though that wouldn't really work on the big screen with big audiences that weren't used to Beast Wars and how that worked. Though I feel that would have been a little easier to explain the Maximals hiding on Earth for centuries. Whatever the case. Let's go ahead and take one more look into the Studio Series line with the final Studio Series Voyager for this video, which is going to be Studio Series 99 Battle Trap. Now, unfortunately, I did get rid of my Power of the Primes Battle Trap from an earlier review. I just didn't have room for it in the collection anymore, unfortunately. So I'm happy to have a new Battle Trap join the cast. And what a figure for this guy. Obviously a big departure from G1, but definitely an amazing character. I love seeing his little, almost bulkheady, wrecking ball hand weapon. And while I'm interested to see what the movie does with them, I'm a little curious about these extended kibble bits hanging off of his arms. With the design of the Terracons, I can get that they went a little bit more forgiving on letting themselves have kibble, but I really hope that the movie does something to justify these weird kibble arms. Otherwise, it feels really lazy, unfortunately. And something that I would have liked to see done a little bit better. And honestly, that's kind of my main complaint with Studio Series Battle Trap, is that there were a couple of shortcuts taken here and there that I think kind of come to a detriment for this guy. But those are all completely surface level arguments, because I just love how this guy works. His transformation is so fun. Again, in a very similar fashion to how Nightbird worked as that mainline deluxe, Battle Trap kind of compresses down from this semi-lanky build into that bulky tow truck that we saw in the trailers and in the film. I am so happy to see just some of the amazing engineering they did to allow this compression of the character. There are some things that are a little iffy. The waist is a little loose on mine, so it tends to pop off as you swivel it into truck mode. And there are some weird tolerances to sort of get used to as you transform this figure, especially on the side of his arms. They can get a little funky. Especially as well, I just often forget how his arms work. So I have to usually fiddle with it for a couple of times to sort of remember, oh right, that's how his arms transform. Which, again, with what they had to work with being a live-action movie design, that's kind of forgivable. The movie designs are designed to be cool-looking first and make sense in transformation second. Which is unfortunate, but what are you gonna do? It's live-action Transformers. Nobody's gonna want the boxy, bulky stuff that it's like, okay, if it transforms like that, how is a person gonna fit in there? No one's really fighting for that on the live-action side, at least seriously, in my opinion. But it's definitely still an appropriate concern to have, and I definitely have it as well. But with the Terracons, I can let that slide a little bit, because, especially with the villains that don't have human allies, I can see them using these as mere shells a little bit more than the Autobots that usually have, like, a companion character. Which also, from what I hear from some of the reviews, we're going to have, like, decent human characters in the new movie. I'm excited for that. I definitely will not want to have, like, little human minifigures. I'm not the kind of collector to like those, but it's definitely going to be exciting to see human characters that are not annoying pieces of shit. At least we can hope. We can absolutely hope. So again, Battle Trap's vehicle mode is absolutely stunning. Unfortunately, as I just transformed it, I'm not quite getting everything to line up quite right, but that is absolutely on me. I have transformed it previously, and it works wonderfully. And honestly, this truck mode, we are blessed with truck modes right now in, like, Transformers fandom at the moment. We have this sort of pickup look with Battle Trap, and we also have, like, Legacy Evolution Scrap Hook, I think. Absolutely phenomenal looking truck. We've got a couple of the up-and-coming bots in this Bonanza that are absolutely wonderful trucks. It's so fun to have these trucks again. And I am absolutely excited to get to talk about more trucks for here. I do wish that some of the stuff we've seen in the trailers, like missiles from the engine block, were possible, but I totally get that that is way beyond what these guys are designed to do. They're just designed to look pretty. And Battle Trap here does look pretty. So, let's go ahead and take a step back over to the mainline for a second with the first wave of the mainline Voyagers for Rise of the Beasts. Starting with, let's start with mainline Voyager Optimus Prime. So, a lot of complaints came with this mainline Optimus of having a lot of just unpainted gray plastic, which, totally valid concern. I personally don't have that issue. For me, the playability and the feel of a bot is more important than how it looks, even though looks are definitely important. And mainline Optimus feels amazing. A whole lot better than a lot of recent Studio Series bots. I love how solid he is. He honestly feels about on par with, like, the Earthrise Optimus in terms of how solid he feels, which is a high compliment in my opinion. In terms of comparing him to some of the other Studio Series that we've seen, like, we've seen videos or pictures of SS-102, the new Rise of the Beast Optimus, as well as, of course, we have SS-38, the Bumblebee Optimus Prime. Comparing him to those two, he's not that far off. Like, he is absolutely not as bulky, which that could be a turnoff for some folks. I personally like that he's a little bit lankier. And he absolutely feels amazing in hand. There's just a couple of tolerance issues I have on mine, with a couple of tabs, particularly on the smokestacks, but otherwise, he feels great, and transforming him is so much fun. I will just fidget with this guy when he's on my desk. He is absolutely a fidget bot. So much fun to handle, so much fun to mess around with, and his transformation has its own sort of special quirks. Like, it's not just the simple Optimus, even though a lot of the basic Optimus transformation steps are there. The legs are obviously the end of the truck, all of the body folds into the cab, but there's interesting differences, like the hands are actually tucked behind his back in the transformation instead of going into what becomes the grill. The grill folds out from the back, of course, but there's plenty of fun to have here. And honestly, in my opinion, this is the cleanest of the Bumblebee-era Optimus Prime truck modes, especially compared to SS-38 or SS-102. I love how clean the back of the vehicle is compared to them. It is so much cleaner. There's not a giant pile on the back. It's all tucked into the legs. It's simple, and I like it. And of course, it is not a lot of paint detail, but you don't really need that much in all things, especially with the main line that's more focused on being playable than being pretty. And I definitely do enjoy that balance that they've struck here with mainline Optimus. A fun little bot. I genuinely might pass up on SS-102. I might just keep the mainline Optimus for mine. But we won't know. Who knows? Then, to stop our Voyagers for the night, let's go ahead and take a look at one final mainline Voyager, being, of course, the mainline Voyager Optimus Primal. So, I was a little worried when I first saw the mainline Optimus Primal because I thought he was going to be a major retool of the Kingdom Primal, which is a great figure, but I would have liked to see a little bit more special things for this mainline Primal. And I was pleasantly surprised with some of the things that they changed. There are some takeovers from Kingdom Primal, but of course that's kind of to be expected because this mainline Primal isn't too different from Kingdom. Much like the Studio Series Air Racer that we saw, there's clearly some things that they took from Kingdom Primal. But there's also some things they did very differently. For example, one of my favorite things they did is that this robot chest piece, which honestly could use a little more paint, but I'm not going to complain that much about that, it untabs, and these two halves of the monkey chest open up, fold out, and we get that same as we saw in Kingdom Primal of that both heads on this axis piece. That folds out. Come here, bud. That folds out, turns around, and then the robot chest slides in and then gets hidden behind the monkey chest, which is phenomenal engineering. I love that so very much. Other than that, the monkey mode transformation is pretty simple. His shins open up and his robot feet fold into his shins, which I love that decision. And then everything just compresses and folds. He just assumes the monkey position. And his swords, which are very similar to the Kingdom swords, just kind of tab on his back, just like the Kingdom Primal. There are these nudges for it. Again, I kind of wish there were more interesting ways to do it, but I'm not going to complain that much. And we get a very fun Kingdom Primal that is honestly rather accurate to the trailers that we've seen so far. My only issue with that is that his eyes, if you can see it, are painted blue instead of that green that we see in the trailers and in the movie. Personally, again, not too big a deal. However, I'm very excited for if and when we get to see a Studio Series Primal, if they're going to just give this guy a massive makeover, or if they're going to make a wholly new Primal, kind of like the Takara one that we saw that got announced recently. I'm curious to see what Studio Series does with Primal. If we get a Voyager, if we get him bumped up to a leader, if we get him shrunk down, who knows? I'm excited to see what that brings. And speaking of leaders, we have one bot left for this Beast Bonanza, and boy did we leave a big one. We have Studio Series 101 Leader Class Scourge, the main villain, well, one of the main villains, we don't know fully yet, for Rise of the Beasts. I'm very excited to say this bot looks amazing, in my opinion. There are some things that kind of are a little annoying, but I'm not going to complain too much because I just love this figure. I love how he looks on the shelf with the others. I love how he feels for the most part. There are some things I'm a little worried about. But let's address the main concerns that are probably around this figure. First, the head sculpt is not that close to the final result of the movie. That's kind of to be expected with how these were basically rushed out before the movie was finished. I'm not going to complain too much because I actually do like this sort of hood design that's on the Studio Series figure. I honestly kind of wish the movie would have kept that. But, again, it's its own choice. Another thing I'm a little annoyed about is how his little blade works. I love that it's sort of integrated into the arm, but I do wish that there was a way to remove it fully. It's on a strut connected to the arm, so it can never be fully removed. It is part of his arm, which is cool, but also a little obnoxious if you want to like display him without his weapon for any reason. You'd have to basically unscrew that strut and pull it out of the arm, which is a lot more trouble than it's worth. However, on the other side, we have this fun little four-prong claw, which is so cool to look at. And if you don't like the claw, you can swap it out for a second arm that is a blaster, which it's a little bland in a dull gray unpainted plastic, but it also looks really fun. And I'm excited to see how the movie does this, if it is like just that internal transformation mechanic, or if he does kind of pull an animated lockdown and just rip off his arm and plug a new one on. I'm very interested to see how they run that. It's probably going to be the former. I kind of hope it's the latter. Now, as I get into transforming this, I'm going to talk about some of the issues that I have with transformation on the off chance that the figure doesn't survive it. So, the transformation for Scourge is honestly really fun and kind of intuitive, with one major exception, and that is his backpack. His backpack unfolds and becomes the top of the cab of the truck mode, which is alright. However, there is one joint for the cab. This joint right here, if you see, that it is just ever so slightly not designed with the perfect clearance in mind, and so it has a hairline fracture that is already formed in the plastic, and of course it's translucent plastic, so go figure. But a hairline fracture is already formed, and it basically stresses that hairline fracture every time that piece transforms. I'm a little nervous about it going forward, and I probably will leave this guy on the shelf more often than not, just to avoid that risk, which is so unfortunate because I love picking up figures off my shelves and playing with them a little bit. But this guy has some things that make me not want to do that as much. There's that hairline fracture and a couple others on joints of that cab piece that just make me wonder, would it have been worth it to just have cast that in a solid plastic and painted it to look like the window? Was it really worth making that piece out of translucent plastic at the cost of that durability? I'm a little worried about it, and I would be lying if I didn't mention it. Another little annoyance that I have is with not the cab, what's the word for it? The bed of his truck mode being a little loose. Sorry, that's not the right word. It's not that it's loose, it's that it's bare. It's like empty. The truck mode's bed is basically just his two robot mode legs folded together. They turn around on the hips and they fold in. Which, that's fine. That's a very decent way to do that sort of bed of the truck. Optimus does it all the time. But my issue with it is that the look of it is very hollow, and it doesn't look filled out in the same way that, like, the cab of the truck does. I feel as though a lot of Studio Series bots have this issue where the cab of the truck looks amazing at the cost of the bed of the truck. Which, I get it, if you're going to have a trailer or something to hide it, that's cool. But when you don't have a trailer or anything, it's a little unfortunate to see this really well-designed cab and then the rest of the truck being kibble. Maybe someday we'll get to see a Scourge 2.0 when Studio Series runs out of new characters to do and decides to just start redoing them. Because let's be honest, give it 5 years, they will start redoing. Oh wait, haven't they already started redoing some? Whatever. We're gonna get to see a Scourge 2.0 someday that makes a more interesting or fleshed out bed. However, there is one small thing that they did to try to help with that, being that the additional gun splits in half and forms this extra piece that can tab into the truck of the bed, or the bed of the truck, if I could talk today, tabs into the bed of the truck to give it a slightly more fleshed out look, but at the end of the day, there's still a gaping hole in it. And the additional piece does not help that hole. It's a little unfortunate, but honestly, everything else in terms of how the truck looks is so nice. There's a couple of holes in the hood of the truck. I don't really know my truck terminology. There's a couple of holes there, but those are from how the shoulder pads become this piece, so that's kind of understandable. I'm not going to complain too much about that. But the cab of the truck looks really nice. I just wish that the bed of the truck could have been cleaned up a little bit more. It's a little unfortunate. Whatever the case, it's a decent little bug. So, those are all of my thoughts about the Rise of the Beast figures that we got. To be honest, I'm probably going to leave this unedited, honestly. I know I said that there's going to be some editing, but I think I'd rather just sort of get this one out, talk about these bots, just because I haven't really posted in a while. So I want to get something out, even if it's low quality, or low effort, I should say. Just to sort of get to talk to you guys again and sort of say sorry for having been gone for so long. I've been dealing with a lot, college and all that stuff, so I hope to get some more videos out, especially some more edited videos out soon. I have plenty of bots to talk about and plenty of small and big things to talk about in terms of different figures. I mean, I think I have reviews already written for this guy, the big Titan Metroplex that came out for Legacy. I think I've got an SS38 video that I'm working on. I've got plenty of Shattered Glass to talk about if I wanted to. Point being, we have a lot to talk about if we choose to, so feel free to stick around. Please do, in fact. And I'm sorry for the big hiatus. I hope to keep going. I hope to keep putting more stuff out soon. So, thank you so much for watching, and of course, have a great rest of your day, everybody. Bye!